Well, let's get more on this now with Betul Dogan Akkas, who's an assistant professor of Middle East Studies at Ankara University. She joins us now from the Turkish capital. Really good to have you with us, Betul. Firstly, we know that Arab nations are really scrambling to put together a proposal to counter that very controversial plan of Donald Trump's to seize control of Gaza and essentially permanently displace some 2 million Palestinians. Do you believe that Arab nations can really unite behind a plan from the region that will be acceptable to Donald Trump?
Thank you, Oscar, for having me on the show. The problem about the narrative of a plan or proposal for Gaza is actually sort of limiting and kind of having a border for the Palestinian resistance, which is almost a century now. Yes, President Trump had a proposal which we all said is unacceptable, and none of the Arab leaders so far agreed with it at any part. But him proposing a plan or a reconstruction, an idea of a new Gaza with forcing people to move another place in the Middle East is not supposed to disconnect Palestinian resistance from its past. We need a plan backed by the Arab leaders, but this plan has to be conducted or organized by the Palestinian agency itself. What we see at the moment is, although Mohammed bin Salman or Saudi Arabia, they are in effort to put more institutional effort to end the war and to bring a two-state solution to Palestine. At the moment, after Trump's narrative, we start seeing him more involved with the situation in Gaza, and he invited leaders to Saudi Arabia ahead of the summit next week, and the expectation from him to provide a projection which might include funding, logistic supports to Palestinian state, a political security that Palestinian agency can feel safe and reconstruct their politics, reconstruct their infrastructure, the houses, the society itself. These are all might be a perfectly managed process, and we could see those states supporting Palestine. But the question is really important. Do we really have a proper Palestinian agency articulated to that projection, that plan, which has actually the leading role, the real projection of a new Gaza or a plan that needs to rule the authority or society in Gaza? If we always, the role of Arab states are really important, but if we always seek the help from the outsider powers, from the external powers in terms of their political agency, then we might not see an active or a really settled authority in Gaza, because now we have some domestic issues with the Palestinian politics as well. We have some critics. They argue that Hamas is no more is not supposed to involved in the Palestinian governance in Gaza. There must be another line of political influence, which is mostly the one in running the West Bank. So in all these complexities, do we really have a settled Palestinian agency in it? Then we can start looking or digging more into the unified voice from the Arab world.
We're expecting to see more of the detail of this proposal next week. But in terms of one of the key issues, we know that Arab nations seem to be united around this idea of keeping the Palestinians in Gaza so that they're not displaced, as suggested by Donald Trump. Do you believe that we will see a solid action on that to prevent the US from displacing the residents of Gaza?
Yes, I think so. So there are, of course, every state's certain national interests that might not always work perfectly with the Middle East security. if we take those Arab states as individual political entities, there might be a clash or many clashes among their political projections in the Middle East. But this unique case when it comes to Palestine, but more when it comes to the situation in Gaza since 7th of October, and notably after what Trump said last week, it sort of brought a big red line to Arab society. The public opinion, the political elites, all of them agreed. And we could see this in their narrative. Many leaders mentioned, and Mohammed bin Salman said this is unacceptable, and he invited the leaders. His position is important because usually Saudi Arabia has that unique role in Palestinian resistance since decades. And now we have seen more Qatari role involved, but yet actually it's an important power. So I think all of these states agree on the fact that there won't be any more forced movement of these people from Gaza. But then what we are supposed to propose to keep them there safe and to keep Israeli aggression limited, or if possible, of course, working under the ceasefire. Because once you have the construction companies, international humanitarian support agencies in Gaza to re-establish it with the funding of these Arab states, politically supported by the international community, you're supposed to provide the security. The most important part here is Trump gonna provide enough political space for Palestinians and for Arab states to re-establish Gaza if they don't follow his position, if they don't follow his proposal. In this regard, we need more negotiations from Arab world, maybe including Turkey, to say that there's a limit. Once this will of the regional states in Gaza, with their support, with their finance, Trump has to open that maneuver space. And I don't think we can really calculate his moves. He never behaved as a president of US in a consistent way when it comes to regional politics. Then I think this is the most critical part for the Arab states. Can they really manage with Trump if they don't accept his plan, and which is obvious they won't accept it, to prevent him once again ruin their organization for Gaza? I think that's the critical part.
Okay, Betul Dogan Akkas, we will have to leave it there, but thank you very much again for joining us on the program.